Well, good morning, Sunday morning, and the United States is officially in a tariff war. Anybody who's been following this channel knows that we believe that we're leaving an old era for the last 80 years and entering into transition period, and before we go into our new world. Now, you also know that I believe that this was inevitable. It is our system, American system. We designed it, we built it, we control it, and we're the only people who can break it. And it seems that we're going to break it. I would say we already broke it as officially last night. Whether you want to pin that as the date and time, that's entirely up to you. I think this has been inevitable since 2019. And that Trump is just an accelerator. Not saying I agree with him, not saying I agree with what's going on. It doesn't matter. We're here to invest money, and we have to figure out what to do. So the Financial Times this morning has the Trump tariffs. They're panicking, both Canada and Mexico. They're much smaller than us. And, I guess we're going to see if we can bully them into what we want them to do, which kind of hard to figure out because they haven't told either country what they need to do not to have tariffs. So it's kind of like, what are we doing? I just don't know. As you can see here, we're doing 25% tariffs on Canada and Mexico and 10% on Canada's energy and an additional 10% on goods from China. Again, I'm not saying I understand anything. I'm just saying it seems so strange that everything's about China, yet we hit our allies 2.5 times harder. Someone please comment and explain that to me. I'd like to focus in here on the second sentence. It's a data point, but it supports my view, where this John Lewin said that the 80-year-old era of stability and rules and conduct of economic and financial relationship between countries ended today. This has been my feeling the whole time, that we are ending that 80-year cycle and we're going into a new world. And I'm not saying I know what the new world is going to look like. I just know that we're going to break the old world. But I've got to be honest with you. Let's do Canada today. We'll do Mexico another day. So, what is our trade deficit with Canada? That we're putting 25% on them, which is incredibly large. So the goods trade, the U.S. had a deficit of Canada of $80 billion. And the services, what did they say here? They don't say what it is, okay? But then you have energy and oil, which is $152.6 billion in 2022, up from $100 billion in 2021, mainly because of the price of oil, all right? And they also send us gas for $1.7 billion. Then there's this $35 billion surplus when we're doing the cars back and forth. Remember, cars are manufactured in America across the Canadian-U.S. border. But here's the rub. It is important to note that if energy is excluded, the U.S. ran an overall trade surplus of $63 billion U.S. with Canada in 2023. A surplus, okay? And you say, well, they're sending us oil and gas. Here's the deal with Canadian oil and what's happening. Canada doesn't have ports nor pipelines in their country. They just built one, it's a small one, that's going to the west to access the international markets. So historically, until today, Americans buy Canadian oil at a $12 to $13 discount. And you can go watch Mr. Global, he talks about this all the time, because there's no access, there's nowhere for them to go. And for all those XL pipeline people, it was a pipeline to New Orleans so they could ship it internationally, not sell it to us, ship it internationally. I don't know why people just don't get that. So, without Canadian oil and gas, they run a surplus with us. We run a surplus with Canada, okay? When we buy oil at a 12 to 13, about 15% discount from Canada, we then end up with a deficit. So what does this mean? I don't know. You have to tell me. So one, we actually run a surplus unless we buy their oil for our 9 northern states at a favorable rate because they can't sell it to anybody else, all right? And on top of that, they're putting it on steel. So I'm just going to go out here and say, I don't think Stellantis survives, okay? They're having trouble now, but this will be the end. If they're paying 25% to bring in their parts from Canada, they're gone. They're gone. Tens of thousands of jobs, whatever, you know. Why are we doing this? And he says, well, it's to stop the fentanyl. Well, 43 pounds of fentanyl was caught at the Canadian border with an American, where there's like 21,000 pounds coming in through Mexico. What am I missing here? So, we are out to break the system. Now, I have pinned, it's the number one on my TikTok, transitioning, okay? What I talk about in there is we have 15 years to start a transition that we need to make good, smart decisions in building out what we're gonna look like after the old world collapses, that we're breaking up on purpose, okay? We're doing it on purpose. I have no problem with that. But the point is there are different scenarios, some good, some great, and some terrible, in our future, depending on the decisions we make today. And if these are the decisions that we're gonna make, then I would say we really are gonna be challenged. I mean, really challenged, because you have to think about something. We're just starting. He said he's gonna do the EU, he's gonna do Japan, obviously he's doing China, he's already told the Koreans. Who are we not fighting with? And you have to think about ourselves economically. How many items in any country today are built solely in that country? I mean, one of the things about China and India is a closed system, most closed large system in the world, okay? And I would say they're not known as a manufacturing force, but whatever, we're not here to talk India. And China has really worked hard over the last 15 years that they're kind of build all their supply chains inside their country. Now you think about America for the last 40 years, we built all our supply chains globally, right? We bring in everything, we either assemble it here, build it here, whatever, but it's from everywhere. We don't have that luxury of saying, we're gonna fight with the entire world. So, what's gonna happen? I don't know. I don't think the markets are gonna look at this as a positive. I think tariffs at the minimum or maximum is a sugar high. And we have a lot of work to do. And I would say the biggest thing that we need to think about as investors and as a country is, what is the scenarios that we are trying to build our future on? Is it going to be that we're all alone and we dictate to the world? Or do we integrate ourselves so that we can be successful and other people around us be successful? It's not mutually exclusive. If we're successful, it doesn't mean other people aren't. And if they're successful, it doesn't mean we're not. I don't know. What do you think? Like and follow, and certainly let me know in the comments.